Maybe like in the end credits, I'll add music here. They'll be a little bit like horror-y, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. Add like the goo going down like you did last time.
That's what we did last year where we had blood coming down.
Oh, it was blood. Oh, you know what I'm thinking of with the goo was the Goosebumps credits. I don't know if you ever the TV show for Goosebumps.
Oh, I thought you meant our Goosebumps reaction from like almost 2 years ago.
No. I'm talking about the actual show that it did. It would play the credits, but it would be this kind of green ooze kind of seeping down as the credits went.
Got it. Well, welcome to the after the reaction of Poltergeist. That's the movie we just watched. Man, not pleasantly surprised. Not even surprised because I heard this movie was really good.
Yeah.
But just like... You know when you just watch a great movie, no matter how dark it is, you're just kind of overjoyed. You're like, oh, I think I just saw one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think it was a cool, like, in a weird way, it was a cool family movie. Like, in the sense of, like, I can see, like, a tough family watching this together with the kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's definitely incorporates, like, what it's like to be a parent, too. Mm-hmm. I just love that scene of just, like... Okay, you got to be a dad. You got to be strict with her. It's like, well, I don't spank my children, but you got to do this for this case or whatever. It just it incorporates that a lot and tiny details too. Like I said, it's kind of thrown out there that he's a real estate agent, and all these houses look the same. But in any other movie, it would just be like, okay, that's just the dad's job. We're just showing the dad's job. It doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
But it has so much to do with the horror elements.
Yeah, it all pays off really interestingly. Like it sets itself up as like a very traditional American family.
Yes.
And it literally opens, like I said earlier, with the national anthem playing. And like a really close-up of the pixels on the TV, and as it slowly pulls back. It was really interesting to look at.
Yeah, when it comes to like setting the tone, I mean, again, the only other Tobe Hooper movie I've seen is Texas Chainsaw, which I want to check out his other stuff. But, like, remember how Texas Chainsaw, like, opens with that shot of, like, the radio...
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it gives you the sense of the world we're going to be living in and the tone of the movie. And this movie does exactly that with the TV and the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah, he has these... He clearly has a lot of takes about the media and the way we spin things and like...
Or also just like the consequences of what America's doing when it comes to like growth and capitalism and building your suburban household.
Literally built on top of bodies. That's kind of what it is trying to say.
And now it's like, it's the idea of like... Remember how the movie like cuts too? Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like it goes to the TV. They're here. Well, she doesn't say they're here just yet. Mm-hmm. The opening shot is of the TV, her coming to it, putting her hands on it, and does this jarring cut to like the suburbs.
Yeah.
And at first I'm just like, oh, it's doing that jarring cut just to have us be uneasy. And now it's like, oh, that has to do with the story of just like. The spirits are haunted by what you've built.
Yeah, like this is what's under the surface.
Yeah, it's very smart.
Like Halloween kind of has similar themes to that, the original John Carpenter Halloween. The idea of like evil...
You think you're safe in this suburban white neighborhood.
Exactly, having this kind of illusion of safety and security.
And this movie deals with it in the sense of like this illusion that... your actions, even though they're with the intent of growing and everything, don't have consequences.
Yeah, like what the American dream is built on.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it's really like smart stuff. And it's also that combined with like that Spielberg sensibility of movie magic and how he moved. It's like Tobe Hooper, and I want to give him all the credit because he did direct this movie. Mm-hmm. But you can tell this is a story by Spielberg, I will say.
Yeah, 100%. I mean...
Like, Spielberg, he co-wrote it with other writers, but the story was by him.
Yeah.
And so you can tell that it's his mind combined with Tobe Hooper.
Especially, like, the first 15, 20 minutes reminded me of, like, those... Spielberg Presents movies, you know, like the Goonies and Gremlins.
Yes.
How they have that, like a bunch of the kids talking over each other, getting into shenanigans.
It was just such like the voice of the 80s, you know what I mean? Like that kind of style. And what's kind of great about it, the reason why it works is what you're saying, is how Halloween has this level of just like, you're not safe even of your own safe suburban life. I think what this movie's trying to do is just like, look, we all know this like magical Spielberg land. dark shit's still gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, the movie's kind of meta about the fact that it's a Spielberg production. The way it hard cuts to a Spielberg production.
With this kind of whimsical music.
It knows what it's doing.
Totally.
Which is so interesting, you know?
Yeah, and then it just goes from 0 to 100 fast. Like, as soon as that tree comes to life, you like, the whole dial just changes for the movie.
Because it gets you safe in that feeling of, like, oh, I'm gonna watch E.T., or I'm watching, like...
Yeah, like, weird stuff happens, obviously, with the chairs. Like,
the bird dying.
The bird dying, and weird stuff happening with the chairs, and then, like, her talking to the TV and all that stuff. But as soon as... Yeah, then it just gets really...
It's when, like what you said, when the tree comes in and eats the kid.
It straight up tries to eat the kid. It gets fucking wild at that point.
Okay, should I just tell my, like, sleepwalking story?
Yes, tell your sleepwalking story.
Okay, so my parents, my whole family, we really laugh about this still. My dad laughs about it every time, like, I go back home. But basically what's happened, I was a very little kid, you know.
Like how little?
Probably, like, like, first, second grade.
Okay, so like 6 or 7, 8 territory?
Maybe not even that. I was probably, around, like, 5 or 6.
Okay.
And, basically, like, I woke up. So this was not technically sleepwalking, but I woke up to go pee, but instead of, like, going to the bathroom, I went to my parents' room, opened, like, one of the cabinets, like one of the drawers that have clothes in them, and just started peeing.
You just peed right on.
And my dad woke up, be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And my parents, like, laugh. It's been, like, over a decade, obviously.
They still torture you about it.
They still laugh at me about it.
How could you not, though?
Because imagine, like, again, that's the thing I talked about. Like, imagine waking up and seeing your daughter talk to the TV. Imagine waking up and seeing your son just peeing on your clothes.
Yeah. Like The Exorcist.
Yeah, it was like a Reagan moment. I didn't think about that, but I've never told you that story.
No.
And when we were watching this movie, I'm like, oh, okay, I have the perfect story.
Save it for the pod.
So that wasn't sleepwalking, technically. I was just I woke up to go pee. I was conscious about that.
Oh, okay.
So it was like this weird state of, like, sleepwalking.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, kids do weird, like, shit subconsciously all the time. Like, you know, the whole thing of, like, sometimes you put cereal in the refrigerator or something like that.
Oh, yeah, well, people still do that. And, just dumb little things.
Yeah.
That your mind just kind of shuts off for a second.
Yeah. I told you the story, but I knew a kid who poured a glass of milk straight on his dinner.
Oh, yeah. And just being like, oh!
He was probably like 8 or 9, and he had his dinner, and I think he meant to do, like, salt or something. I don't know, but yeah, like I said, he spaced out so hard. He had a full glass of milk with his dinner and just started to pour it on his, like, fucking chicken breast and salad, and just went, oh, like, full volume.
I know.
Realizing what he just did.
Goddamn kids. So there's sequels to this movie?
Okay, I was wondering about that.
I think there's, like, 3 sequels. I think there's, like, a Poltergeist 2 and 3. I know there's also remakes.
Is it the same family?
I don't know.
Let me look it up real quick.
I don't think so. I know there's also a remake, which I've heard is not good. And I don't know if, like, Poltergeist 2 and 3 are good. But it is, like, interesting. I knew nothing about this movie. No, like... I heard nothing about it, but like I told you, when I was watching, like, this movie specifically, its third act, it reminded me a lot of, like, specifically season 2 of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, these are, like, there's images here, or, like, effects here, or things that they're doing that are very Poltergeist.
Yeah, well, even, like, off the bat, I mean, yeah, I've only seen the first season.
You've only seen the first season, yeah.
Yeah, like, I've seen, like, half of the second season of
And the
Stranger
stuff
Things.
that I'm talking about doesn't even get to the Poltergeist stuff by the second half.
Well, some of it, though, is in the first season, though, of, like, the idea of the government. I wouldn't want to spoil Stranger Things, even though most people have seen it.
It's okay. Spoiler alert for Stranger Things.
At least the first season of Stranger Things. The idea of, like, the that kind of entry into the other dimension that's regulated by the government, that is it looks like it's kind of visible at the end of the movie here, and the idea of communicating with the child through, like, a weird means. Like, it reminds me
I'm sorry. What level of government is involved in Poltergeist?
No, I'm just talking about that particular portal, that, like, entry that's, like, looks like it's made of, like, rotting meat or something like that.
Yes, okay,
I'm just saying that idea is
okay. Got it.
But and also the idea of communicating with the child through strange means, like through the TV, like kind of like how the mom was talking to Will Byers through the lights.
Yes,
you know what I mean, there's some of that stuff is in there, like
in the first season.
Yeah,
I'm just saying there's a second season where there's, like, direct comparison.
Makes sense. Yeah, sure.
But true. I mean, like, Stranger Things is also pulling from, like, every 80s, like, Nightmare on Elm Street, like, a lot of the Goonies,
Stand By Me,
stuff.
Goonies, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so it's pulling from all those movies. And as I'm watching more of these, like, Goonies that we watched on this channel, and then this, it's, like, making it clear. I'm like, oh, there's so many references they're pulling from.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm, like, taking off the list of the Spielberg Presents movies.
Yeah, what are some others?
Well, I mean, the ones we watched before were Gremlins and Goonies. I've already seen Goonies.
Oh, yeah, Gremlins was one.
Gremlins was one, yeah. And Gremlins feels like a Spielberg movie in its own way, too.
Yeah, the first one at least.
Yeah. The first one I gotta clarify.
Gremlins 1 and 2 are kind of, like, amazing.
Yeah.
The first one is too, but I love the second one.
Yeah. Yeah, Gremlins 2 is awesome.
I think Gremlins 2 is also now considered just great. Like, I think, of course, it was, like, polarizing, of course, but now I feel like people are like, this is awesome. They would never make something like this.
Everyone appreciates it now, for sure.
It took balls to make something like that.
Fuck yeah, it did.
Yeah, I think, bringing it back to Poltergeist, I think something, like, throughout this movie while we were watching it, something I really appreciated was obviously, like, the inventiveness in the camera work.
Yeah, there are a lot of really cool shots in this movie. A lot of the cool use of the lighting and, like, the strobes and all that.
Exactly. Like, the final set piece, until, like, the big head comes out. Well, it's not the final set piece, at least. But when they're putting the rope through the light, until the big head comes out. Before that, it's all, like, lighting, and then that effect of the rope hanging off nothing in the main floor. But it's just so amazing that through these two simple effects, they are able to establish so much and so much drama. Like, the way that room looks with that intense lighting is amazing.
Well, it's also because the characters are so strong, too. Like, you really were rooting for them and felt how much they wanted to get their kid back.
100%. But isn't it also kind of inspiring to look at that kind of filmmaking and just be like, okay, maybe I don't have the tools for special effects, but if I wanted to make a horror short film, if I got creative with the way I use lighting and my camera, and if I wrote interesting characters, then even I could make something as terrifying and also captivating. I think, like, a lot of the Spielberg Presents, but also obviously Spielberg movies do that for me, where he's known for his big blockbusters with things you've never seen before, but especially with stuff like E.T., the stuff that I remember in E.T. is Elliot going through the field and seeing him, but it's with lighting.
Yeah. The tension isn't just carried by the special effects.
I think, like, that's something people forget about Spielberg, because he's also the man who created dinosaurs.
Yeah. We associate him with spectacle, for sure.
But he is able to do things with such simple moves. And, again, I know Tobe Hooper directed this, but it is something I think about when I think about these Spielberg Presents movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, going off that, there's a ton of amazing short horror films on YouTube as well. That are
one
really
you and
simple.
I reference a lot is Lights
Out. That's an amazing horror film.
If you guys haven't seen it, go see Lights Out.
Highly recommend go check it out. It's on YouTube. Literally just type in Lights Out short film.
It's funny. I think we recommended it on our Hereditary podcast.
We very well might have. Yeah, all horror roads lead to Lights Out.
It's one of the best horror shorts.
Yeah.
David Sandberg in general, guys. Like, I don't know if you've seen his other shorts, but go on his channel, Pony Smasher. He makes amazing shorts. Not only that, he's the same guy who did the first two Shazam movies, Annabelle Creation, and also the Lights Out feature. He is also a type of guy that, like, breaks down filmmaking with separate vlogs and stuff in a way where it's, like, very practical, easy to understand. He seems like a humble director. Highly recommend him.
Yeah, the director, you know that new movie Skinamarink?
Yes, of course. I want to check it out.
I'd like to check it out too. Everyone says if you're going to watch it, like, dial into it, like,
dark
turn the
room,
lights
no
off.
Distractions.
Exactly. Like, it's supposedly more of an experimental movie with a lot of atmosphere, more so than, like, a direct plot.
I don't like watching movies on my, like, iMac, but I was actually thinking about, I was like, if I want to watch that movie, I might want to watch it on my computer, like, with headphones on, like, to fully suck in, because I wanted to see it in theaters, but I didn't make it.
But the director, Kyle Edward Ball, he has a YouTube channel as well before he made Skinamarink, and he did a project where I forget the name of the project, but you can check it out on his YouTube channel, where he filmed his interpretation of his own nightmares, and along with other people in the comment section writing out what their nightmares were, and he would pick them and then film it and try to emulate it, basically.
Wow.
And they were done...
That's so cool.
It was cool, yeah. They were done really simply, too. Like, the first one's really just this kind of creepy long shot moving through a house, and you can hear, like, TV static from far away. You know, it's just really simple, but same deal, like what you're saying about Lights Out, where it's very simple and achievable, and it just doesn't take a lot of spectacle to achieve tension.
That's really cool. I think you told me, like, you watched his stuff before Skinamarink came out, right?
Well, I heard about him through the trailer of Skinamarink. So it's not like I knew who he was ahead of time.
But you looked him up?
Yeah, well, because we were at the Laemmle Theater and the fucking trailer for Skinamarink came on, and that unsettled me so much. It was such a creepy trailer.
So, that's interesting, because, like, I remember you were talking to me about that. You're like, oh, that looks cool, or whatever. You, like, were invigorated by that.
Yeah.
And the thing that I found interesting about your reaction was you don't really have that kind of reaction to movie trailers.
I don't get giddy over trailers a whole lot, no.
I do, but like...
I'm not like acting like I'm better than people who enjoy trailers, to be clear, but still, yeah.
I'm just telling the difference between you and I.
Yeah, I'm not as reactive, for sure.
Like, to trailers, at least. You like to actually not watch trailers and go in, which I know a lot of people respect. But, like, I remember that trailer did affect you, so that is interesting.
Well, this is super random. I think I told you about this. I might have even said it on a podcast episode, so if people already know this, forgive me, but... I remember I saw Talladega Nights as a little kid in theaters. You know what they put a trailer on for before that movie started?
Was it The Grudge?
The Grudge 2. Okay, so
you told me about this.
I might have said it on a podcast, like I said.
The Grudge 2.
My God, dude. Who the fuck puts a trailer to The Grudge 2 before Talladega Nights? I was like 9 and it terrified me, 9 or 10.
You know where you said this? Little Miss Sunshine podcast.
Oh.
You were talking about your first rated R movie.
That's right. That's what it was. Okay.
You're talking about what your first rated R movie was, and it was Talladega Nights, and the Grudge 2 trailer came on.
We should keep like a lore checklist of stories we've told each other over the podcast. I wonder how often that happens with newer podcasters accidentally repeating stories.
Oh, but I'm sure there's some people that appreciate it, because some people might have not listened to the Little Miss Sunshine podcast.
True. It's just funny.
It's interesting. I feel like horror movies are at a stage right now where there's still like great traditional horror movies coming out. Like Talk to Me came out, and Talk to Me feels like it has a new style and tone, but still feels pretty traditional.
Yeah, I haven't seen Talk to Me yet.
I'm not spoiling it for you or the viewers, right? But then there's like some experimental stuff coming out, like Barbarian,
or Skinamarink too.
Barbarian, Skinamarink, like it's messing with form a little bit, which I find very exciting. I like the fact that like, oh, this genre is evolving.
Yeah, I know. It'd be nice if the other genres evolve too, but,
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you look at action and the way it's evolved, right? Like, early 2000s action was very just trying to copy Jason Bourne with the quick cuts, and now we're at a stage where it evolved into John Wick-style action, which is, like...
a lot of heavy wide shots.
Yeah, it's cool. So I feel like, even though it's not evolving as excitingly as horror, all genres are kind of, like, they move. And I always find that super exciting,
That's true. I guess I was being a little cynical just because of how many remakes and franchise reinvigorations. We just had a conversation about this right before we shot this.
No one's more cynical than I am.
Yeah.
But I think if you look outside of the superhero genre, which, like, to be fair, you and I aren't as much sucked in as we used to be. If you look outside the superhero genre, a lot of a lot of genres are kind of changing form, The movies that are still not being made are studio dramas, which I would love for them to come back. But, like, when it comes to horror, thriller, action, science fiction even.
Yeah. What about comedy?
Comedy's another thing where...
it's kind of obsolete now.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer because, like, studio comedies used to be a huge thing. I mean, No Hard Feelings came out this year, and it was this big deal because it was like, oh my god, a studio comedy. But studio comedies aren't made that much anymore because people got their comedy fix from superhero movies.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
But now I'm curious because superhero movies are not dwindling, but they are becoming less and less exciting for people.
Yeah, they're making less and less money.
People are not rushing out to theaters. So I wonder if now, like, people are going to be, like, excited to go see studio comedies. I know Theater Camp, that movie did pretty well in theaters.
Oh, yeah, I want to see that one. Yeah.
Theater Camp felt like just like a good old comedy. And I saw it in a packed theater. People were dying laughing. And I kind of just was like, oh, man, I miss laughing with people in the theater.
I know, isn't that such a simple experience? We yearn for it so much.
We also need the fucking Rogan guys, Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, to come back and make a good old comedy again. I just feel like the Judd Apatow team handled it for a while.
Yeah.
And those people have just been making TV shows.
Yeah.
And I kind of miss them in movies,
Fair enough.
But... horror is like the genre that you and I always keep talking about. It's not dying.
Yeah, no, that's going as strong as ever, and it's always being inventive. It's always doing new things,
Now, and to bring it back to Poltergeist a little bit, it's just interesting to see that like a movie like this still you can take a lot from. You know what I mean? Even though horror's changed so much, you can still look at it and be like I said, simple filmmaking tricks can still give you that feeling.
You can still elevate a movie a lot. Yeah.
And also, like, a movie can be both entertaining and have big ideas.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I think about it all the time, where it's like, Texas Chainsaw is like a movie that I really love. I think is a great movie. I wouldn't call it entertaining in the sense just because I don't like to just put that on.
yeah. It's a lot of screaming. It's a noisy movie. It's like it's very visceral.
Very visceral. Yeah. But Poltergeist is a movie where I'm like, this scares me. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'd love to put this on a Friday night.
Well, yeah, and it has like kind of a Hollywood, not in a bad way, but it has kind of that popcorn Hollywood wrapped up in a bow type ending.
You and I talk about it all the time. We love James Wan.
Yeah.
Right? But when you go see a James Wan movie, I'm never like scared. Like per se, I'm never like, oh God. I'm more like, ooh, okay, this is thrilling.
Exactly. It feels like you're riding a roller coaster in a good way.
In a great way. Like I loved *Malignant*. You and I love *Insidious*.
Yeah.
Like the *Conjuring* movies are great. You know, but he makes what I like to call popcorn horror, and that's not a dig at all. We love those movies. You need those movies.
Yeah.
But every now and then you need like a Barbarian too, like which I consider also something that was super exciting and fun to see. And then you need Talk to Me that'll fuck you up for.
That'll actually be frightening to watch.
You haven't seen both Talk to Me or Barbarian.
No, I'm planning on watching them this year though.
Man, yeah, those are some classics. Thank you guys so much for watching the After the Reaction. We really appreciate it. Also, welcome to the podcast channel. We have other videos. Our main Nice Dude Movie podcast you can go check out. We have the Hereditary podcast up. For spooky season, we'll have another spooky season podcast up on a movie we won't reveal just yet. But go ahead, subscribe, check the channel out, enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Stay spooky, dudes.